Following the persecution of Father Calvin Robinson, who was defrocked by the Anglican Catholic Church in the US on spurious grounds after imitating Elon Musk's infamous inauguration salute, the cancellation of religious figures in the UK has now begun. Today, I learned and reported exclusively on my Substack, www.outspoken.live, that Reverend Canon Father Phil Harris, a regular guest here on this show, has been brutally sacked from his role as minister at St. James's Church in the West Midlands. The church, by the way, he promised his dying father to protect, for which he served voluntarily and took no money, but succeeded in growing by 350%. And this cancellation was because of 2 social media posts that went viral all around the world, criticizing Slippery Starmer and Islam apologism. Now, his departure was forced after an investigation was launched by the Charity Commission. Surprise, surprise, this is like the off-communists, a quango that is part of the British deep state and is determined to shut down dissenting voices. Now, Father Phil Harris is going to join me very shortly alongside the UKIP leader, Nick Tenconi, for his first interview. But what I want to do first, because this is so important, is show you the 2 viral videos. They were watched by millions of people across the world, that have resulted in Father Phil's cancellation, because I'm sure you will agree with me that he is speaking our language, the language of common sense. Watch.
Nearly 39 million people did not vote for you and are not interested in your policies. And yet you have the audacity and the propensity to insult the majority, the silent majority of our nation. Today there is an uprising across this once great nation as the political liberal elite have removed themselves and placed themselves above the people that they are supposed to serve. History tells us that this does not end well. History repeats itself. It has to, because nobody listens. In recent days, we have seen an army officer stabbed 12 times. We've seen riots in Leeds for 3 days where your government was incapable or unwilling to take action other than to return a vulnerable child to the family from whence the child was required to be removed for concerns over their well-being. 2 thugs violently assaulted 3 armed police officers in an airport, breaking the nose of a female officer, and they've not even been charged. Then riots in Rotherham for the same people who committed the assaults. 3 little girls were murdered. Let me say that again. 3 little girls were murdered at a holiday club. 10 were injured. And yet you allow the mainstream media to portray the mass murderer as a sweet choir boy.
I mean, what on earth is controversial about that? And do you remember it was part of this tongue-in-cheek movement, Far-Right Thugs Unite? So that was the first video that the Charity Commission started investigating. This was the second.
So Keir Starmer, I am left frustrated and angry, like many of the citizens of this once great nation are, after your press conference regarding Southport yesterday. The anger has continued through headlines in the newspapers and the media today. Your obfuscation is beyond words. Let me say again that I am fuming at your far-right rhetoric towards me and the majority of this nation. Even journalists saw yesterday that your reasons for withholding information regarding Southport were nothing short of gaslighting. There is an endless precedent for the early release of the kind of information you and your government withheld, and none of it has ever led to trial collapse. Furthermore, you did not only withhold information, you allowed misinformation and disinformation to be peddled. and division was allowed to run riot.
And Father Phil Harris joins me now for his first interview alongside the UKIP leader, Nick Ten-Coney. Father Phil, firstly, I am so sorry that you are going through this type of cancellation. It is despicable. It is disgusting. We know that this is what the deep state, and by the way, I put the Charity Commission as part of the deep state. They are a quango. This is what they do to try and silence dissenting voices. You've seen it happen with me. You've seen it happen with Nick. Unfortunately, now they have come for you. But can you just explain something that you told me when we spoke off camera earlier in the week? How you believe that releasing these videos is actually a key part of what you are required to do as a man of faith.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting. Thanks for your kind words, and thanks for your support, Dan. Really do appreciate that. To answer your first part, the last 3.5 weeks have probably been the worst 3.5 weeks of 40 years of pastoral ministry in some shape or form.
Awful.
Just like the actual whole shock of this, it's just been horrendous.
Being cancelled, Jordan Peterson says that the only thing in life that is worse than being cancelled is receiving a terminal illness diagnosis. And the pictures we're showing, by the way, Father Phil, for people who don't know, are your new church. You've had to go and set up to worship in a pub because you're determined to do it. But we'll come to that. But sorry, you go on. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, just in the context of that, a clergy friend. So I'm a priest in the Anglican Church of North America, which means that my holy orders, which are validly Anglican, are recognised in the UK because I am an Anglican priest, but it means that I'm not under the Church of England. And a number of people are asking that on Twitter at the moment. I'm not a Church of England priest. I left the Church of England in 2009, and my licence since 2013 has been held in the United States. But I had one of my colleagues from the States call me up and say, I'm really sorry, Canon, for what's happened. And he talked to me about disaffirmation. And you mentioned Jordan Peterson there and his kind of comments. And I think that this was really horrendous. And Ruth, my wife, was actually with me at the time. So if you think about affirmation, what this has been about for me, it really is disaffirmation. We've been disaffirmed, and that's been kind of quite horrendous. However, when you're ordained as a priest, your charge is actually to contend, is first of all to a priest in the Church of God, to a clerk in holy orders. Secondary is the jurisdiction that you are actually serving in. And so my responsibility is to actually speak out for against unrighteousness and speak out for righteousness, and to hold people to account in society. And so, we can actually look at Augustine of Hippo and John Chrysostom and Basil the Great, who all spoke out about ills. And obviously we can go back to the prophets of the Old Testament, and we can go to Jesus himself, and we can go to St. Peter and St. Paul, who we have a responsibility to stand up for those who are disaffected in society. And the church has stopped doing that. The church has lost its testicular fortitude, for want of a better phrase, to actually stand up for what is right.
Oh, yes. Someone who does have balls is alongside us today, the UKIP leader, Nick Ten-Coney. But Nick, you talk about the complete war against Christianity in the United Kingdom. This has to be one of the most shocking examples. Clearly politically motivated, right? Because Father Phil had the temerity to speak out against Starmer's revolting cover-up. But first, you know I never recommend anything unless I truly believe in it, and today I've got something absolutely game-changing for you. Have you ever stopped to think about how crucial comfort is, especially down there? Well, let me tell you, today's Outspoken is proudly sponsored by Sheath Underwear, the revolutionary brand shaking up men's comfort across the globe. And here's what makes it even better. Sheath was founded by an amazing US Army veteran, Robert Patton, while he was serving in Iraq back in 2007. So that's right, this isn't just any underwear brand. It was designed for the toughest conditions imaginable. Patton was battling relentless heat and discomfort in full combat gear, and he thought there has to be a better way. So he created it. And let's be honest, traditional underwear just doesn't cut it anymore. Sheath's innovative dual pouch design ensures your comfort all day long, keeping things separate, cool, and fresh. Just imagine your essentials being comfortably cradled away from unwanted friction and heat. Trust me, it is genuinely transformative. I've personally tested these at the gym, on long days at work, even just relaxing at home, and I'm telling you, once you've experienced Sheath, there is simply no turning back. They're stylish, they're supportive, and they deliver unmatched comfort. It's like upgrading from economy to first class, but for your underwear. And right now I'm offering you an exclusive 20% discount at sheath.com. Yes, that's 20% off your entire order when you use my special promo code Outspoken at checkout. So what are you waiting for? Sheath, by the way, is the perfect present for your husband, your boyfriend, your son, your brother, your hard-to-buy-for best mate. And ladies, good news, there are female versions too. I also want to tell you that Sheath, because this is really cool, Sheath is the first official underwear of the UFC. I thought you would like to know that. So click on the link below, enter Outspoken at checkout, sheath.com, and then you can thank me later when you're feeling comfortable, confident, and ready to tackle anything the day throws at you. Sheath underwear, redefining comfort one pair at a time. But now, back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've taken the time to speak to Father today. It's very good of him so that I could understand more. This is not going anywhere. For your viewers, this is not going anywhere. The outrage, the disgust, it will just keep coming. We've got to convert it into returning a majority at a general election and reinstating Christianity back into the heart of government. Now, obviously, I'll let Father tell the story, but I'd like us to understand more about what we mean when we say the deep state. What do we mean when we say our institutions have been captured? What do we mean when we say Quango or the third sector? So long story short, we've got a guy called David Holdsworth, who's the CEO of the Charity Commission in the UK.
Yes, he's nominated for Union Jackass today.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to go on and speak about David. So for your viewers, we've got a guy called Orlando Fraser, KC, who's the chairman apparently, and we've got a CEO called David Holdsworth. So what the Charity Commission are involved in when it comes to Christianity, and feel free to fact check my numbers, I'm not saying I'm right, but from my research, there are 40,000 churches in the UK. That sounds under, but let's just say there are 35,000 of them come under the remit of the Charity Commission. So my understanding is, for your viewers, if you are in bed with the Charity Commission and the Charity Commission say, we're closing your doors, this isn't working out, your status is revoked, maybe funding, Father could go on to tell you about it. When we say our institutions have been captured, the Charity Commission is fully captured. So then the question becomes, if that's made any sense, okay, Nick, so our institutions have been captured, so who's pulling the strings? Well, that's obviously a question which whistleblowers help us with, like Father, hopefully, and other people. We know there's a Saudi-backed operation and a Saudi-funded government, which is a soft jihad in the UK, but no one talks about that. They mentioned Qatar and they mentioned Kuwait. It's a Saudi-backed outfit in the UK. It's IRGC, it's Iran. You got to go to source on these things. How is Father in this position right now? And I'm sure he's going to tell the story. It's disgusting and it's outrageous, but we've got to take it back, guys.
Yes, because Father Phil, almost the moment that the church trustees were aware of this letter from the Charity Commission, they just folded, didn't they? They didn't try and defend you, really. They just panicked, and this is what happens. It's just like what GB News did to me, for example, with the off-communists. This is why these Quangos are part of the deep state.
That's exactly what happened. So a charity that I'm a trustee of received a letter on the 5th of February, same day the church received exactly the same letter, inquiring if they were aware of my social media posts and wanting comment on them. The Christian Concern actually helped the the charity, and they defended that, sent that defence back to the Charity Commission. The church panicked and basically folded. And I think the thing that's really heartbreaking for me is I would have defended and would defend every single one of those individuals passionately with my life. I would give my life for the church. That's what I'm called to do as a shepherd of the sheep, is to lay down my life for the sheep. And that's the stance that the great shepherd, the good shepherd, took, to lay down his life to protect the sheep. And so what they did was just folded. Now, I need to give them one get out, which is the fact that most of them, well, all of them are elderly, and they were just shocked to have a letter from the Charity Commission. And that's where we come from, the weaponisation. The realisation for me, which is kind of quite scary, and those figures of Nick's are broadly right that he's just quoted. Very interestingly, the Charity Commission is wanting to have 35,000 extra charities in the next few years. Now, my question is, what are those charities? Are they Christian? Question mark. But I can have a license, as I did, for a church validly. And that license, allows me to administer the sacraments in that church. If, however, the Charity Commission come along and say that person is no longer allowed to be your minister, then we have a problem. So I can have a valid license from my bishop. And by the way, my bishops have been very supportive and are supportive. And I think, Dan, you've seen a statement from the bishops. However, you can have a valid license as a bishop, but if the Charity Commission decide that you can't work in that charity, that license is nothing, because ultimately, if it's a Charity Commission church, then I could not fulfill my role as a minister or a priest or rector of a church. And so I'd never seen this. And so the benefits of being a charity is we can apply for charitable funding. You can get gift aid, 25% gift aid. However, I'm just now considering, and you mentioned the new church, because literally the trustees that made this decision, and maybe 7 or 8 others, are the only ones left in the church, because the whole of my congregation backed me and said, we need to do church elsewhere outside of the building. And by the way, I was locked out of the building. So we had the meeting, the trustees left, I locked up the church, all my ministerial accoutrements, my robes, my books were in the vestry of the church. My deacon was with me, and he just saw how devastated I was. And I kind of put a message out to the WhatsApp group. And there's a picture of me praying for Father Francis in 2017 at Vatican City, in the Apostolic Palace. But he saw how upset I was, and he said, look, let's deal with this another day. And so we left, and I put a message on the church WhatsApp group saying how disappointed I was. And again, Dan, I think you've seen that message, and it was very conciliatory, just outlined the facts. And the WhatsApp group blew up. And I thought, whilst I've been away in the States, there'd been some sort of meeting that had happened. And of course, there'd been no meeting. This was just the charity trustees acting arbitrarily on their own. And so they made the decision. The WhatsApp group blew up. All of the congregation was supporting me. The next thing is the WhatsApp group. I'm removed from the WhatsApp group as the administrator by one of the trustees. And then I'm removed from the WhatsApp group. And then she locked the WhatsApp group so nobody else could comment. And then the church started contacting me. And this is on the Monday. This happened. It went through the Tuesday. And then we had to find a new place of worship, which happened to be Cradley Heath Sports and Social Club. So if you're around the backcountry of Birmingham, and there we are celebrating Mass. We had the first week 30 people ish in the Sports and Social Club. The Sports and Social Club love the fact we're there. They love the fact there's a father walking around in a cassock, and that they can come and talk to us. And so that's been a big win.
And you intend to keep worshipping.
Oh, absolutely. So what we did, so we were during COVID, for those that know me, because churches were closed, and don't get me going on that one, we formed an online parish church called St Jude and St James, and people around my Twitter see that I promote it each Sunday, and we did online church, and that online church still runs. Now, the St James bit was the nod to my dad, because he was the minister of St James at the time. And St Jude is the patron saint of hope. And just through COVID, people had lost hope and were unhappy. And so St Jude and St James was birthed. So what we've actually done now is set up a new church, which is St Jude and St James. So it's St James that cancelled me and locked me out the church, which, the following day I went back to get my accoutrements and my robes and my camera equipment, and I couldn't get into the church. They changed the locks. And that's when everybody kind of went utterly ballistic. And so we're very upset. The church shouldn't behave this way at all. And, for people who are disaffected by the church, can I just say, I apologize for the way that we behave as church at times. I really do. And we should be better than this. The good news is that we're now meeting in the community, and we're looking for another building that we can purchase so we can continue church. I'm not so worried about myself. I'm worried about the people, the flock, who are disaffected by this. So, yes, if you are in the West Midlands, in and around the West Midlands, come to Cradley Heath and the Sports and Social Club there, 10:30 Sunday mornings, and we will be celebrating Mass again this Sunday morning.
Father Phil Harris, well, I love having you on Outspoken. You are certainly not cancelled here. Thank you so much for joining us for your first interview today. And thank you too to UKIP leader Nick Tenconi. You can read much more about the cancellation of Father Phil Harris by signing up totally free to my Substack today, www.outspoken.live. This is the best way to have direct communication with me, to protect me from cancellation from the mainstream media. I would very, very much appreciate it. www.outspoken.live. And as I say, if you signed up, you would have received in your inbox this exclusive, terrible story about the cancellation of Father Phil Harris, Reverend Canon Father Phil Harris, earlier today. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.